everybody, welcome to Freaky Friday. Woo! My name is Kevin Kaufman, this is Fred Weaver, and we're Group 4610, Arizona's premier short sale
Wow,
team.
Kevin, you're getting freaky on us. You wore a navy blue shirt today rather than black. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to say those kind of things on the camera in front of our audience?
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Just say it.
Pant load. You're a pant load.
I'm a pant load today. Okay.
All right, guys.
It's a step up from a jack
Hey,
rod.
today's, well, it depends on how you look at it. Today's Freaky Friday. You all know what that means. It's a freaky story. It's something crazy going on. It's like the movie Freaky Friday, if you've ever seen it. And something that's freaky that's going on out there in the short sale world is this whole Wells Fargo policy, and apparently the color of my shirt. And I've gotten probably no less than 20 phone calls, text messages, emails in the last 7 days in regards to what's going on with this Wells Fargo policy, because a lot of people got this email stating that they were no longer postponing foreclosure sale dates or extending approval letter dates or anything like that. And the reality is
nothing's ever what it seems.
Ever what it seems.
So let's back up. You and I were in Austin, Texas last week.
Yes, we were.
And I believe the date was
Wednesday.
Which would have been the 16th.
Sure.
And several emails were sent from some Wells Fargo negotiators. Now, let's just get rid of some myths out there. It was not just one negotiator at Wells Fargo.
No, it was multiple.
We got multiple emails forwarded from multiple different negotiators, but the email basically said, we are not postponing any foreclosure sale dates for any reason. This is a new policy. There will be no exceptions, blah, blah, blah. And it caused a tizzy, if you will, in the industry and throughout our fellow colleagues for several days now.
I would think a tizzy is the right word.
You like that? Tizzy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
tizzy.
not a word you use every day.
No, it's really manly too, by the way.
I know. It's a very manly word.
Wow.
from men in blue shirts. So,
speaking of,
you and I instantaneously sent off a couple emails to several of the higher up vice presidents at Wells Fargo that we knew.
Yes.
And immediately the response that came back was, we've been in conversation around making some policy changes, but I'm not aware of this.
Yeah,
was the first response.
I'm just going to quote somebody. She said, quote, I'm not aware of this being official at all. To my knowledge, no. Can you please forward me the emails you received?
And it actually took until just this past Monday for us to get clarity on what was going on.
Sure.
So let's fast forward. Let's get to the good details. I actually had the opportunity to speak to a woman by the name of JK at Wells Fargo. She is one of the senior vice presidents. I think she is the senior vice president.
Let me say it this way. I mean, a lot of people know who Matt Vernon is, okay? And Matt Vernon at B of A is the guy in charge of all short sales and probably REOs too.
Yeah.
Okay, so JK would be his counterpart, but at Wells Fargo.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to summarize the phone call that I had with her, if you don't mind, from start to finish. So first of all, she called me while she was at a conference this week, so I very much appreciated that. So thanks, JK. And she was very honest to say, look, I'm aware of the emails that went out. The reason that we haven't as a company countered those emails is because in some situations that statement may be true. Meaning that for some of our loans, we may not postpone the sale date. I tend to think that the email was pretty all-encompassing, and it might have been a good thing to still write an email to say, hey, we're not doing this for all loans, but it could be true for some. But in either case, she knew that some of these emails went out, and they are no longer going out. Let's be very clear on that, okay? So I learned some interesting things from her, and I want to share them with you. First of all, she told me that approximately 80% of the loans that Wells Fargo services, and I believe I could include ASC because when she says Wells Fargo, that would be...
It falls under their branch.
The ASC as well. So 80% of the loans that they service are actually not their own portfolio, meaning they're investors like Freddie, Fannie, FHA, VA, etc., okay? She said that policy recently, and that was the word she used, has been driving them to do certain things. And by policy, I mean that there has been some pressure or influence, whatever word you want to use, from some of their investors who will remain nameless.
And we actually talked about that a few weeks ago.
We absolutely did. But there's been some policy that's been forcing them to do certain things, meaning that they, as the servicer, in some situations, are either getting their hand slapped or could get their hand slapped
if they did certain things.
If they did certain things, like postpone sale dates without certain procedures being followed. So then she went in a little bit to talk about Fannie Mae. Okay, and she told me that Fannie Mae recently has changed some of their guidelines. I would assume, I'm putting two and two together here, JK did not say this, but I would assume that Fannie Mae is driving some of this change behind the scenes.
Based on what I've seen at other servicers and heard, Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume the same thing.
Okay. So she said in the last few weeks that they at Wells Fargo, herself included, have worked with Fannie Mae to delay some foreclosure sales. And they are now, Fannie Mae is willing to delay foreclosure sales if there's a valid offer in hand. And then she went on to say that if there's proof of financing or funds from the buyer, and if that buyer could then close within 30 days. So I don't know what the exact written guideline is. There's still some ambiguity there, but it sounds to me like if you got a good offer and that they can review it and approve it, and if you can close in a reasonable amount of time, that they will postpone your foreclosure sale date at least one time to allow that closing to take place.
Right.
That was what I got from the conversation. So this was big, and this is something I had no idea about, Kevin, okay? And she shared this with me, and I think this will be news to you outside of the fact that I shared it with you the other day. But many of the small investors that they service for, so the what I'll call unnamed non-GSE investors,
private investors,
they actually follow Fannie Mae's guidelines.
Yeah.
So when I was
I'm not real surprised. I mean,
well, it kind of surprised me a little bit that they choose Fannie over Freddie or over VHA or VA or FHA or.
Well, I mean, and the only reason I say that is because it seems like everybody, when Fannie does something, it seems like everybody else follows suit, and they're so much bigger than Freddie. So.
And that's pretty much what she said. She said the reason that these Fannie Mae changes have caused so much, she didn't use the word concern, but I got the idea that it was important to her.
Oh, yeah.
Is because not only does it affect her Fannie Mae portfolio,
but
loans that are owned by them, but all these other smaller investor loans that don't have their own written guidelines but follow what Fannie says. So very interesting stuff, guys. That was pretty eye-opening to hear her share that with me. So she went on to say that, again, those emails aren't going out anymore. She also went on to say that she understands that there needs to be, I guess if you will, a better open communication between the agents and the real estate community and Wells Fargo and other banks.
Good.
One of the things she was doing is she was actually at a conference when she called me at a lunch break or break time to say that she was there with many other servicers and they were all discussing these issues. And Wells Fargo specifically has reached out to NAR, the National Association of Realtors, within the past short period of time, and they're working with them to try to get the word out. So if and when changes come, hopefully we don't learn about these new changes from a negotiator's
email that gets forwarded 100 times.
That then sparks a wildfire across the industry of fear and concern. So anyway, she went on to say that for pretty much every week for the rest of the year, she's appearing at national conferences around the country. So I encourage you to check out some national conferences.
If you have the opportunity, I definitely say go listen.
She specifically said that the NAR conference, National Association of Realtors conference in November, she would be at and would be speaking at.
That's the one in New Orleans, right?
I have no idea, to be really honest with you. She asked me if I was going, and I didn't even know where it was. I'm just being honest. So
they're calling it Nardi Gras.
Nardi Gras. Okay, interesting. Thanks, Kevin. So the summary of this is that, guys, you may run into some situations at Wells Fargo and even at other banks where they don't want to postpone your sale date. We've been talking about that for a few weeks. We've been experiencing that. But if you've got a valid offer and you've got the file in at least a couple weeks before the foreclosure sale date and the file's in motion, it's very likely that the sale date's still going to be postponed.
Well, and let's face it, Wells Fargo, from a servicing a short sale standpoint, one of the quicker banks out there.
Oh, absolutely.
I
applaud them. We've applauded them over and over on the show.
For the last 2.5 years, since you and I have, almost 3 years now, we've experienced Wells Fargo being pretty much one of the top 2 or 3 from a speed standpoint.
Do we have our problems where we still? Oh, absolutely. We have our challenges. But from a processing standpoint,
our problems are generally with a person who doesn't think outside of their script.
From a processing standpoint, they receive documents, upload them, order BPOs, get it assigned to a setup person, get it assigned to a negotiator quicker than anybody else out in the industry.
And then once
at a large scale. I mean, I'm not comparing them to Wachovia, but they also don't have the portfolio of Wachovia.
Well, technically they own Wachovia, so
I know. But
you can't really compare them.
But they operate separately.
Yeah, the thing is you can't compare them. They've been the fastest. They're still the fastest.
Yeah. Maybe they'll purchase. I almost said another bank's name, but maybe they'll purchase another large lender.
That remains nameless on our show.
Yes.
Let's wrap this up. I'm already starting to feel uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the blue shirt. It's Freaky Friday, Kevin.
It's that color.
So, hey, guys, anyway, I hope you learned something today, and I hope you learned something even bigger. We'll talk about it on Mindset Monday, actually. That's going to be Mindset Monday.
Okay.
We're going to continue this episode on into Monday.
Wrap it up.
1,
2,
3. Short Sale Power Hour! Short Sale Power Hour! Blue is back. Crushing.